To my show, ladies and gentlemen. Last show before Night of Champions. I had to think about that for a minute because I had to really make sure that, I'm going to be honest here, I was not fond for the last month of the build going into Night of Champions. I have not been fond of it. Last week, I was not fond of the show at all. But it was still effective. Now, even though I didn't state that in the last show, my last review, it was still an effective show to build towards Night of Champions. I seen the Slug Daddy's own review on it, and he was more interested than he was normally to Raw. But I'm being honest here that the show might have been more effective than the week before that, but I really still don't have a lot of interest in the show. But I will say that it is still an effective show from last week, and they built on top of it. Another effective show. And as you can see from the title, I will be saying that last. But let's get the tag teams done right now. The Divas tag team match of... I'm not fond of knowing that Nikki Bella is going to be in a three-way at Night of Champions. I find that very terrible. But I will say this. They tried to combine two feuds here into one match. Just like they did with the Usos and Goldust with Sheamus and Cesaro, which I'll be doing next. But I'll say this. Was the match good? Not that great. But it was still an effective match that you showed the people that are heels, showed the people who are faces. You showed that, well, Paige can clean house. Essentially, that's it. But in the end, the person who supposedly got over the most here was Nikki Bella. And that's saying a lot. And I don't want to even think it. Because her doing the backbreaker on her sister was tried to be as dramatic as possible. Was it great television? No. I have more interest in seeing Paige prance around with AJ copying her than this. But I will say it was effective because they're trying to promote this, that you're going to have a Bella versus Bella for the Divas Championship if they're actually going nowhere. You see me botching because I do not want to see a Bella versus Bella match at the next pay-per-view. Or right afterward. I don't want to see it, but that's where we're going. This is what I'm seeing here. They want to do a Bella versus Bella. They want to get the face of the WWE, which is John Cena, to the lower face of the WWE of Daniel Bryan. Both women are in their own roles, but that's what it comes down to. Anyway, let's move on. The Dust Brothers and Cesaro versus Usos and Sheamus. Now, let's be honest here. Sheamus was the most dominant person there. Was that good television? But I will say this. Sheamus and Goldust, for me personally, have some good chemistry. I would have loved if Goldust had been in the show, well, the Raw for a while, that he had faced Sheamus. I would have liked to see Sheamus versus Goldust because I think that would have been very interesting to see the dynamic between those two because... and Sheamus go, "What's wrong with you, fella? Go fill yourself with a pint." That would have been something interesting. Sheamus is a Catholic, I believe. He's not Protestant. So you could have played something off on how quirky Goldust is compared to Sheamus' downright roots to being a Catholic. You didn't have to say it was religion there, but you could say something about it. It would have been interesting. But in the end, Jey Uso wins over Cesaro. So you didn't have to have the combatants of each one to actually face one another. But this really... in this feud, I'm actually more interested than it was the Wyatts compared to Usos. Seeing the Dust Brothers compared to Usos have been a bit interesting. But I'm still upset that the Usos, they've gotten some time to talk. But not much. And then, the Cosmic Twins, as Michael Cole said, have gotten almost no time to talk on the show, which is stupid. Now, let us move on to the matches I believe are stupid. So stupid that they should not be done now. You got Bo Dallas versus Jack Swagger. And I know you're going to say, what? Not done now? Why not get it over with? Dude, after what happened with Rusev and Jack, I'm botching because it angers me. After the Rusev and Jack Swagger match, when they introduced Bo Dallas, they actually did it in a good way. And even though they could not have it on Night of Champions, you could have this on the kickoff show. I would love to have seen this on the kickoff show. But now, we have it here. And I expected Jack Swagger to go over here. There was no problem with it. It could have gone either way. In fact, I think if it had gone by Bo Dallas' way, it would have continued the feud. But I think the feud's going to still go on anyway. But the point is, you could have had this on the kickoff show of Night of Champions. We're not going to get it now. At least as far as I know, we're not going to get it. And it's dumb because they didn't have bad chemistry together. It actually wasn't a bad match. But I'm going to move on to the other match that is utterly stupid. Seth Rollins and the Roman Empire, Roman Reigns. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong or not. But we have been building up to this and building up to this and building up to this. And the reason that they dropped him and Randy Orton is because, well, Seth Rollins not dealing with Dean Ambrose because Dean Ambrose is out due to the fact he's doing the movie. And they got to do something with both of these guys. So, stick them together. Do their feud now so when Dean Ambrose comes back, Seth Rollins will really have a good build for it. But why not do it at a signature pay-per-view? We got it coming, but then you give it free on Raw the week before the pay-per-view. So why in the fuck am I going to care about the match at the pay-per-view? Particularly that at the pay-per-view, there's no belts. The Money in the Bank briefcase is not a threat. There's no any of a career match. There's no steel cage match. There's no Hell in a Cell match. There's no street fight. There's no last man standing match. It's just them doing exactly what they did last night. Dumb. It was the stupidest thing the WWE could have done. The people cheered for it in the Cage Dome. But in the end, why would you release something you know you need at the pay-per-view here? Unless they're going to take it out, this was absolutely stupid. Now I'm moving on. I have to breathe. Now, the next tag team match, because there were 3. The copycat match, that's what I'm calling it. Miz Dower and Miz versus Dolph and R. Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler and R-Truth Ziggler versus Miz and Damien Mizdower. It was plain stupid. But I gotta say this about R-Truth. The man is cut. He is built like a brick chicken house. You can see the abs. You can see him cut. And they do nothing with him at all except make him dance around like an idiot. Until this, which was actually quite entertaining. But he just sold too much for me personally. So essentially, what do we get? We get... About that, my battery died. But I'll say this. It was entertaining to see this match. And am I still interested in seeing Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz? Yeah. Because they made it entertaining. They gave me more than what they normally do. And I'm glad to see that. Now, the things that didn't interest me much. John Cena and Paul Heyman. That was the beginning of the show and the 2-hour main event. I'm alright with that. I'm glad it didn't happen at the final hour of Raw. I'm glad what they did with Mark Henry. But this, was I interested in it? No. Because they're going to try and do the angle of showing that Cena needs to change, but he won't. In the end, you got that in the beginning. And then Paul was taken to be locked up in John Cena's room. And Great Khali looking over him. And you know what would have been more funnier? Not throwing the phone on the floor and taking the cover of the back, doing this with the Great Khali, it just didn't look funny. It was stupid, and I'm sure more than a few people laughed at it, but it wasn't that funny. But in the end, what do we get? John Cena doesn't beat the shit out of Paul Heyman. He doesn't smack his ass around. When he does, he gives him a shove. And we finally get Brock Lesnar coming out. This is where I have a problem with it. I have no problem with Brock being dominant and throwing John Cena on the back of his head, and if they left it at that, it would have been better. But when John Cena attacks him back, that's when they ruined it. Because for the simple reason, they've done this with everyone that John Cena's ever faced. John gets his ass kicked by someone maybe at least once. Then that person seems to be dominant for quite a while. Then right before the pay-per-view, you throw John Cena at that same person who's kicked his ass very badly or gave him a controversial win. And then you let John Cena show himself being so dominant over that guy. It bores me. It just didn't seem interesting. And then Michael Cole being stupid enough to say, oh, I think Brock's nose is broken. I think his Brock's nose is broken. Why say that now, you stupid fuck? At the end of the show, I can understand that for the simple fact, by then, he would have seen the trainers, and then they would have said to the officials, well, we just found out Brock's nose is broken. That would have been better. But then you're screaming that John Cena broke Brock's nose is broke. You see, I'm botching because it got on my nerves. It was stupid. It was bad enough to let John Cena attack him, but then screaming on the top of your lungs, Brock Lesnar's nose is broken by John Cena, and John Cena going, "Arr!" Didn't make it interesting to me at all. I had no interest. But was it effective? Yes, it was. For the average fan or for the kids, they see their hero getting back at Brock Lesnar. And I'm going to see it at that. Now, the Bray Wyatt versus Big Show match. Maybe we got a feud between Bray Wyatt and Big Show. I can understand what happened with Chris Jericho, and I will be getting that to in a minute. But seeing this, I'm alright with it. Bray Wyatt is now facing something or someone much bigger than himself. Now, of course, the Wyatts interfered with it, and I kind of wish that Big Show had just jobbed here. But it's understandable why. They want to build it up saying that this is a giant that Bray Wyatt cannot defeat. But here's the problem. Bray Wyatt may have won a steel cage match against... He won that steel cage match in a real lame way. I'm sorry, he did. He wasn't able to walk out of the thing. He just fell after attacking Chris Jericho, keeping him from doing it. So he didn't win that great. He jobbed before to a John Cena badly and did nothing for at least a week between that. So it would have been better for Bray Wyatt to win it in a way that would have been better for him and the feud between him and Big Show. Maybe Big Show bumped his head and got knocked out, and Bray Wyatt pinned him, and it would have been better that way. In this respect, it still feels like Bray needs the Wyatts to protect him, and just it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that Bray's going to get over here with the Big Show. He may have gotten over with Chris Jericho, but I don't think the Big Show. Now, here we go with Chris Jericho versus Kane. And I'm going to be honest here, that match was sloppy. And it was all because of Kane. And I still love Kane to the respect of what he did before, but right now, as I've said before, turn him into a manager. It is his time now to be retired from active wrestling. He needs to become a manager. Being in the back is fine. Once in a while coming out. But in this case, he's not getting over. He's not getting anyone over. Chris Jericho won it, but it felt so sloppy. I just wasn't interested in it. Kane used to be able to do great work in the ring, and now he can barely move around the ring. And he's 47. I'm 43 years old, ladies and gentlemen. I'm injured with a bad hip problem and a back problem. I have an excuse that I just can't work anymore because I'm injured. With him, he's got no excuse. He's 47 years old. He may still be built well, but he just can't go in the ring anymore. And everyone can see it. And if it's because of his own vanity or because his contract states that he must wrestle this much amount of time, and he's forced to do it, he needs to stop. So I'm just going to move on from there and move on to the, what's left here? The Naomi and Cameron match. Now I'm going to talk about this more in the debate of the week. I am. But seeing Naomi and Cameron only because of the segment of them breaking up on Total Divas. And it's sad to see this. It was actually not a bad match. I know you guys are going to say Cameron cannot wrestle shit. Well, understand, she's gone back to NXT on and off from what I understand. I have not seen her at NXT because I've not been watching the product. But if she is there, and she is working on it, and still allowed to come back to the main roster, I'm not surprised. She stated herself on the show. 3 months of training, and then was brought up. You need a minimum of 2 years. Look at what happened with Naomi. Naomi stayed at least 2 years, met her husband there, came up to the main roster, and has shown how great she is. Because in this match, the people cheered for her, the people wanted her to win, and when she threw that submission onto Cameron, Cameron tapped like a little bitch. And I love Cameron. I really do love the woman. She's actually beautiful. I love her, even with her attitude. And I know she has no boobs and no ass, but she's still beautiful. But she jobbed to Naomi. And that's alright. But still, this wasn't done right. Now I'm going to explain more in my debate of the week after this video. Finally, let's see if there's anything else I'm missing here. No. That's it. Okay. The Mark Henry segment. I am very happy it happened at the end of the show. It wasn't John Cena. It wasn't a Randy Orton. It wasn't the Triple H, the King of Kings. It was Mark Henry. A guy that people legitimately want to cheer for. A guy they know is a legit strong man who has a world record of 145 kilograms of weight. I'm not exactly sure how much that is. That's 700 to 800 pounds? No. I think that was about 900 to 920 pounds of weight a human has ever lifted. He still holds that title, I believe. But it is good to see this man who has charisma, who can still to a point go in the ring pretty well. He knows, and he's my age, he's 43. He's roughly about a month younger than me. He was born the 12th of June, and I was born July 27th. He's older than me about less than a month. So we're both the same age. Pretty much. And I've always liked Mark Henry. The man has charisma. He's sexual chocolate for a reason. The reason people cheer for him. So when he's dealing with Rusev and Lana, and I gotta say this, Lana did a very good job showing who he lost to, showing his failures, showing that he will not beat Rusev. You will see that Rusev will win. I have no problem with what she did. It was really good work. Rusev himself did good work. He didn't take a mic. He waved his flag around and let Lana do the job for him, which was good. Go in the ring, tried to put the accolade on Mark Henry, could not do it. In the end, Mark Henry powerbombed his ass. He powerbombed him. And it didn't make Rusev look bad. It made Rusev to a point vulnerable, but then that means that Mark Henry may have a chance. In this respect, when this comes up at Night of Champions, no matter who wins, it'll still be good for both of them. And Mark Henry is so well over, people love it. So how do I enjoy it? Not enjoy it. How do I feel about this show? I really didn't enjoy it a lot. But I will say that it was still an effective show. And the ending was great. I did enjoy it, seeing Mark Henry victorious and the Cajun Dome crowd loving it. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane View. Please give me a comment below. My debate of the week will be next, and it's going to be about black wrestlers in the WWE. I know there are not that many, but I am going to talk about the ones I care about. So I hope you have a good night. Peace!